In university, professors predominantly talk about scholastics and suggest that the biggest learning you're going to have takes place in the classroom. But frankly, that's not true. This professor actually thinks the biggest learning you're going to have in university life is related to how you navigate your social life. You're going to have so many highs and lows, and you're going to need friends to pick you up when you're down, help you study for an exam, help you pass a course, and most importantly, help you find a nice date. So in this video, I'll be walking you through the do's and don'ts of making friends in university. Hey guys, I'm Mike. I'm an organizational behavior professor at the Ted Rogers School of Management. In weekly videos, I share my student and professor experiences to help you better manage your student life. I generally don't talk about topics learned in the classroom, but learn the hard way throughout university. So if you are in uni or will be soon, hit subscribe, smash the like, and check out my weekly clips. In this week's video, I'm talking about the do's and don'ts of making friends. All right, so I'm gonna first talk about the do's, and then I'm gonna talk about the don'ts of making friends. So my do list is, sounds kind of naughty, doesn't it? A do list? My do list is based on network theory. And network theory? It sounds a little nerdy, doesn't it? Forget all that. Essentially, in order to make friends, you need repeat exposure to the same person or group of people over and over and over. Repeat exposure allows you to build shared experiences with those individuals, which will allow you to have something to talk about, laugh about, vent about, blah, blah, blah. So my list of to-dos in making friends is all about trying to achieve that status of a repeat exposure over and over. And it's really not that difficult. So my first recommendation is to go to class. Now, this isn't me as a professor trying to fool you into learning more. No, I'm saying go to class for social reasons. One, you can see people before and after the class, that you talk to them about anything, but I'm saying go to class and sit in the same seat. I know it sounds weird, and there's no prescribed seating in university. Most people tend to sit in the same seat, and you should too. That'll allow you to sit closer to the same person over and over, giving you that repeat exposure time in and time again, every single class. The closer you are proximity to the person, the more likely you are to feel closer to that person over time. Again, slowly getting closer and closer to their bubble. Okay, you don't want to go in their bubble right away. You just want to stay on the outside of their bubble. Okay, you don't want to overdo it. My classic move in university when I was trying to make friends was the little head nod, or maybe even the possible "What's up?" Right? Again, noting that I'm close to the bubble, but not going inside. Another thing you can do is join a group, club, or sports team. Now, universities usually pride themselves on how many activities they have for their students. So simply find one that you're interested in so that you're motivated for attending and you have something to talk about with the other guys in that group, club, or sports team. To find it, usually you can find a list of activities and offerings of the university on the university's webpage. Also, you can go to the student center, and I'm sure that you'd be able to get a little one-on-one with somebody working there, and they can tell you as to what activities are available, and you could probably even figure out what activities are more in line with your interests, so you can sign up and try to get into that club as well. Another recommendation is to get a part-time job. Now, this one's probably most relevant for those students who are hurting for money. I know I was. You can make money and make friends at the same time. Win-win, right? So when I was in my undergrad, my master's, and my PhD, I guess I was really hurting for money or really hurting for friends. Probably both, most people are, I got jobs, okay? What this did is it allowed me to have repeat exposure to the same individuals. Again, it gave me a shared experiences at work, but over and over, I slowly started to talk about things outside of work. As soon as I found somebody I connected with, I invited them to hang out with me in a different venue, and then again, I got to grow that relationship over time. Again, it's not overnight, but repeat exposure, slowly grow that friendship. Okay, another thing you can do is ask somebody to be in your group for a group assignment in university. Most university classes these days have some element of a group assignment in the course. So ask somebody to be a part of your group, and that you're gonna have repeat exposure to that same person, and you're gonna be able to build shared experiences when you're working with them on that particular assignment. Now, I get that in university, everybody wants to feel wanted and wants to feel needed. You want to be asked for this, and you want to be asked for that, rather than asking somebody else. I remember when I was in my undergrad, Facebook first came out, and I refused to invite anybody to be my friends because I didn't want them to feel needed. I wanted to feel needed, so I forced it. If I was going to be friends with somebody on Facebook, I was only going to do it if they invited me to be friends. It's so dumb, isn't it? In hindsight, it's so dumb. Simply give somebody the gratification of asking them to be in your group for a group assignment. It'll go a long way. It's such a small act. It doesn't cost you anything. It's such a small act, but it's going to go a long way, and they're going to remember it because it's going to be meaningful for them to feel wanted to being part of a group. But one of the big catches is ask them to be a part of your group, but then deliver. Don't be that person that asks somebody to be a part of a group and then ride on other people's coattails. Okay, don't do that. Because if you do, they're gonna remember that you asked them, slacked off, and you're gonna totally burn that bridge in the future. My last recommendation for what you should do to make friends is to talk about food. Now, I know it sounds silly, talk about food, everybody eats, but again, everybody eats, so that's why you should be talking about food, because it brings everybody to their happy place. Who doesn't like talking about food, really, right? So my secret weapon when I was trying to make friends in university was to talk about lunch, because I always had morning classes, so I wanted to go somewhere for a lunch after. Oh, I forgot my lunch. You know a good place to go eat? Oh, have you heard of this new restaurant on X Street? Or, oh, have you been to this new shop? Is it expensive? And talk to people about the act of actually going and eating there, whether they've been in there in the past, whether they want to go. If you hit the jackpot and they say, yeah, sure, I'll go, check it out, I haven't been there, good. You can talk to them along the way. You can put them in a different setting. You can build a relationship that way. But even if you haven't, listen to the recommendation that they do have. If they haven't, physically go there, order the food, and then the next time you can see them, you can talk about, hey, remember how I was talking about this restaurant? Well, thanks for the recommendation. I ordered this food and it worked out really well. I know it sounds silly, but repeat exposure, having a shared experience with somebody, even if it's about something as silly as eating lunch, can go a long way in terms of building a friendship over time. All right, now as equally as important as the things you should be doing to make friends is the things you should not be doing to make friends. Now, there's probably a long list of obvious things you shouldn't be doing to make friends, like being a or waving some of the finger at somebody, or being a while waving the finger at somebody. So I'm gonna skip over those entirely, but I will be sharing a list of don'ts that probably aren't as obvious to you. My first recommendation is don't seem overly keen in terms of making friends. Now, I'm not sure everybody would agree with this one. Some people are just great at putting themselves out there and making friends all the time. I'm not. I have a thick bubble that needs to be broken first before I can become friends with somebody, and I'm okay with that. And the important thing is to be aware that different people have different size bubbles, different thickness of bubbles, all that. Okay? So my general rule of thumb is wait for 3 interactions with that person before you invite them to a different setting. So if I'm interacting with people in class, I'll wait for 3 classes with that same person before inviting them to lunch or drinks or wherever, somewhere else. So let's go to the bar and watch a game. 3 interactions. That gives each person an opportunity to get a little bit closer, invite them a little bit more into their bubble before accepting the invitation. My next recommendation is to don't overdo a friendship. I know that when things are going well and things are clicking, you want to spend a ton of time with somebody, you want to do everything with them because, well, hey, what the heck, everything's going right, let the good times roll. But you can overdo it. I find that people have a tolerance. The more time you spend with them, that tolerance is almost like a fuse. It gets shorter and shorter and shorter. The more time you spend away from somebody, it allows them to build up that tolerance, and the fuse gets longer and longer and longer. So my recommendation to you is to figure out for each person what that sweet spot is in terms of how the frequency at which you should be hanging out. The more time you spend with them, sure, you can have a ton of fun, but make sure that people have enough space to build up that tolerance. Because for me, you want to make sure that people have enough tolerance to, handle your bad jokes and still laugh. My next recommendation, don't try to please everyone. It's impossible. So don't do it. You're going to deplete your resources over and over and over. So focus on the relationships that you actually care about. And my last recommendation, don't be weird, but be authentic. For example, eye contact is good, but too much eye contact is not. Humor is pleasurable to be around, but only if you're funny. Don't make bad jokes. Unless you're making dad jokes, because dad jokes can be bad, but as long as they're clever. And then those are always okay. Cologne and perfume are nice, but they don't replace deodorant. All in all, be yourself and be aware of the tendencies that you have that might be off-putting to others. Not to say eliminate those, but just be aware that other people are also aware of your unique characteristics. And anything you can do to soften those will go a long way. Hey guys, that's it. Those are my list of do's and don'ts in terms of making friends. If you found this video helpful or want to hear about more tips in terms of making your student life a little bit more manageable, hit subscribe, smash the like, check the notification tab, and check out my video next week. And one last question for you. Will you be my friend?